The relationship between humans and nature is complex, and we all depend on the environment for our survival. Across the world, billions of people still depend directly on natural resources for their livelihoods. But increasing pressures on these resources are leading to serious environmental degradation.
It's vital that we now develop practical solutions to managing the environment that are both sustainable and just. Women, the poorest, the elderly have been cut out of those processes, and we need new approaches that fully embrace them.
From forests to mountains, drylands to wetlands, from coasts to cities, ecosystems provide us with everything that we need, and managing those resources sustainably is vital.
10% of the world's population are still living below the poverty line, frequently in rural areas in developing countries.
Local people depend on their environment for provision of food, use of resources such as timber for their shelter, access for grazing for their livestock, water, fuel, as well as medicinal plants that they obtain from the nearby forests. When the environment is degraded, this impacts on the quality of their life as well as their livelihoods.
Ecosystem Services for Poverty Alleviation, or ESPA, is a global research program established in 2009. More than 900 scientists working in more than 50 countries have been exploring the benefits people obtain from nature.
It was set up specifically to try and gather good, hard evidence about what kinds of policies and actions will help poor people in the face of environmental degradation. We've found that many environment and development interventions have unintended consequences.
Environmental programs like protected areas have profound impacts. Local communities suffer from restriction of access to natural resources that form the basis of their livelihoods.
Both conservation and development projects need to be designed to consider the needs of people at every stage.
The solutions can be obtained through the environmental justice approach, recognizing the rights of indigenous communities, putting in place measures that enhance effective participation, ensuring that benefits are fairly distributed, and minimizing costs arising from conservation programs.
The good news is that if you have the right institutions, policies and practices, it empowers poor people to enhance their livelihoods in a way that still sustains the environment.
ESPA's research has been unique in that it's delivering development impact, working in an integrated way with many different groups of people. Local communities, government, non-governmental organisations, the private sector.
ESPA Delta's project in Bangladesh reveals the importance of understanding how different interventions affect not just the environment, but the livelihoods and well-being of people relying on natural resources.
Coastal Bangladesh is very densely populated, more than 1,000 people per square kilometre, depending on fisheries and agriculture, particularly rice paddy, for their livelihoods.
Straddling the largest river basin in the world, this low-lying region is facing multiple threats from changes in land use, the destruction of mangrove forests, and rising sea levels due to climate change.
The threats are cyclones, floods from the sea and rivers, and during the dry season, salinisation. Salt water pushes in from the sea. High salinities can cripple agriculture and be the difference between having a good crop and having nothing.
ESPA Delta's work has focused on using modelling tools to better understand the effects of these changes.
Our project's unique because it combines the biophysical, socioeconomics and governance and allows us to think how these interact. For example, we can take different climate change scenarios and look at how they might affect river flows and tidal flows, and then we can actually look at how different interventions could avoid outcomes that weren't desired.
ESPA Deltas has ensured that the people most reliant on ecosystem services are involved in decision-making processes.
People in these deltas, they're really removed, they're really marginal. There's no roads, there's no access to market, no schools, no health. And so we really prioritised collecting data on the natural resources which are really important to the poor.
আপনার ঘরে রান্নার জন্য কি ধরনের জিনিস ব্যবহার করেন?
এই কাঠ দিয়ে তারপরে কুড়ি দিয়ে
তারপরে মাছ শাক জঙ্গলেতে ধরি সংসারে চালায় তারপরে ঘের বাড়ি থেকে মাছ করে
It's important to ask people about these services because they're very much undervalued. The value is placed on the things that make money, cash crops, monoculture such as rice and the shrimp and the prawn. And we were trying to raise the profile of the natural resources which are freely available.
সুন্দরবন আমাদের বাংলাদেশের মধ্যে একটা ঐতিহ্য। তারপরে এই গাছপালা দিয়ে আপনার আমাদের জ্বালানি হয়, তারপরে আমাদের এই ঘরবাড়ি বান্দার কাঠফাট মানে আপনার এই গোলপাতা দিয়ে ছাউনি হয়।
This ESPA Delta study is oil designed, oil planned, integrated, and much more science and people oriented. Collection of the information of the area and the people is not new, but this is now presented, analyzed, interpreted better way.
One of the most exciting outcomes of the project is that we're taking it forward together with the Bangladesh government and applying these methods and also transferring it to other deltas around the world.
In Ghana, ESPA has been exploring ways of making cocoa more sustainable by working with farming communities, government agencies, as well as cocoa and chocolate companies.
Ghana is the world's second largest producer of cocoa beans, and it's integrated also with food crop production. In terms of agriculture, it's the dominant cash crop and has been for almost 100 years.
More than half the population earns its income from farming, but growing cocoa can be harmful to the environment.
The biggest source of deforestation in Ghana is overlogging and then also farming. If care is not taken, a time will come we might not have the forest anymore.
In 2013, ESPA provided funding to a project known as eco-limits. Scientists worked to better understand the cocoa forest landscape and found that shade trees on individual farms, as well as the existence of protected forests, contributed to healthier cocoa yields.
Some of the benefits of increased tree cover, the increase in soil fertility and good soil moisture, and protection of cocoa trees from storms.
Eco-Limits has worked with communities to try out new farming techniques that enrich the environment and boost local incomes.
Forest line mama cocoa ni na fine nti omo ka kire na ye ja nnua no wo bia emben bebre ni so no ama ono so akoso aboa ya ma ono so ya ite se de ye ben forest line na
ya yes ajuma wi no omo kire se etwitwa kwadu piece na editwa cocoa no hia sa and I'm saying to me no cocoa we na ka ewu aso kama
Eco-Limits research has been pioneering because it focused not just on ecological and political factors, but also on the social factors that influence how cocoa is farmed.
We've assessed overall wealth of the family, access to education for children, and satisfaction of life for the farmer. Because today, minya wo mu se nyebi de hwe mere ne mema ene omo school ko ana ono so no anyebi o ma start say medibisi midan.
ESPA's work in Ghana is proof that partnerships play a key role in bringing about change.
Some of the results that came out from the research was seen in the collaborative system that was built between farmers, government departments, and also the private sector to build solutions that was beneficial to all stakeholders.
It now means that leading members of the cocoa industry are taking steps to improve sustainability.
Over 40 companies, including the Marses, the Nestle's, Two-Tone, made an announcement to say that the entire cocoa sector is committed to helping integrate resilience into cocoa farms for climate sustainability and also reducing deforestation.
Climate smart approach is important for Two-Tone because we believe that to be able to secure the supply chain over a long period, we need to address all the issues from a climate change perspective.
I'm tremendously hopeful that in 100 years, we'll still have cocoa farmers on this landscape, we'll still have forests, and Ghana will still be the second or maybe even the first global producer of cocoa in the world.
ESPA research has shown that sustainable development is only possible when the voices of society's most vulnerable people are heard.
Access to good evidence in decision-making is very important. It enables decision makers to design environment and development programs that ensure that unintended consequences are addressed and people are not left behind.
Although we recognise that it takes a lot of time and effort, it's absolutely essential that we have good policies and processes in place that allow for inclusive participation of people in decisions about the environment they depend upon. It's important to get it right so that we have a world and an environment that's fit for everybody to live in, both now and for future generations.